Wow. Welcome back to another episode of Red, White, and Weekly. And I want to thank, once again, the amazing drum corps that we just heard, the fifes and drums of the Old Barracks. They just performed their masterpiece medley, and it's amazing. And if you know me, you know I played the drums early on in life, and I'm still a drummer at heart. And any drum corps gets my attention and kind of, I don't know, fires me up a little bit. And they will be in the outro as well. Now, today's episode runs from July 20th through the 31st in the year of 1775. And I will be combining the last 2 weeks of July, and so that's weeks 4 and 5 in this episode. And going forward, if there are 5 weeks in a month, I may do this again and just group whichever 2 weeks seemed the most logical to combine. Now, today's episode is entitled Unsettled July. The battle drums have faded for now, but America is not at peace. From the tents of Cambridge to the dimly lit taverns of New York, from the inner chambers of Philadelphia to the cold waters off the New England coast, tensions smolder. The colonies are not yet a country, but they are undeniably at war. In Cambridge, General George Washington walks the camp perimeter before sunrise. Every sunrise. He's begun enforcing stricter codes of hygiene and discipline among the Continental Army, and soldiers now bathe more often when water allows. Latrines placed downhill away from food and tents. It is these small changes that General Washington has initiated that begin to save the lives of soldiers. A letter from Private Isaac Fry of New Hampshire, written on July 24th, reads, "The general keeps close watch. He says, an army may lose more to dysentery than to musket fire. I never seen such care from a commander." Still, Washington is alarmed. Supplies remain short. Tents leak in the rain. Desertions are ticking upward. The heat is brutal, and the flies worse. Yet the men continue to look to Washington for hope. Now, has anyone wondered, or have you begun to wonder, when our Navy will sail into American history? Well, it's this episode. Enter Essex Hopkins and the Hannah. Congress debates forming a Navy, and Essex Hopkins is eyed for that command. Essex Hopkins, born in 1718, was a seasoned Rhode Island seafarer and privateer who became the first commander-in-chief of the Continental Navy during the American Revolution. He was born in Rhode Island Colony. Before the war, Hopkins made his name as a merchant captain and a privateer. He was known for boldness and his deep knowledge of the Atlantic waters. A bit rough around the edges, some called him salty, gruff, overly independent, but undeniably skilled. Congress appointed him to lead the new naval forces because of his experience and because of his confidence. His brother, Stephen Hopkins, was a signer of the Declaration of Independence and later governor of Rhode Island. Once in charge, Hopkins did not always follow Congress's orders precisely, which would later get him into political trouble. But early on, he helped lay the foundation for the fledgling American Navy, who barely sail onto the maritime timeline in first place. In a very close second, the Marines will form in October of 75, and we will get back to the Marines in future episodes. Now, what type of vessel was the Hannah? Well, she was a sloop, a single-masted vessel with fore and aft rigging. Her length was estimated to be at around 60 to 70 feet. For armament, she likely carried 4 to 6 small cannon, weighing approximately 3 or 4 pounds apiece. Her crew, about 40 men. The honor bestowed on her, she was commissioned as America's first naval vessel under George Washington, And on July 27th of 1775, the Hannah in battle will capture a British ship off Gloucester named the Unity. The Unity was a supply schooner. And speaking of British allegiance, in New York, loyalists like Reverend Miles Cooper quietly prepare for the worst. He writes to a friend in London, "My house has been marked, and at night they pass singing rebel songs. I have sent my books on to safety." In Norfolk, Virginia, tensions flare after a group of armed patriots force a known loyalist to swear an oath of neutrality. These aren't formal courts. They are just mobs with a cause. And still, many loyalists wait. They watch. They don't love Parliament, but they fear what might come without a Parliament. Now, a name we all know, and among the most daring officers of the early American Revolution stood Benedict Arnold, a brave yet contentious figure whose ambition and resentment would one day cast a long shadow over his reputation. Benedict Arnold was born in 1741 in Norwich, Connecticut, to a family of declining fortune. His father was once a successful merchant, yet died in disgrace after succumbing to alcoholism, leaving young Benedict with a sharp sense of ambition and a deep sensitivity to slight. After a brief formal education, Arnold became a successful seagoing merchant, and by 1775 he was captain in the Connecticut militia and an ardent patriot. So when war broke out, he swiftly proposed a plan to capture Fort Ticonderoga and its cannon, which were both vital to the Continental cause. Although he co-led the mission with Ethan Allen and the famous Green Mountain Boys, Arnold felt sidelined and slighted when Allen received most of the credit. Then, when the Massachusetts and Continental Congresses both overlooked him for command and then later failed to reimburse him for expenses that he fronted himself, his frustration only deepened. Arnold, brilliant, proud, and impatient, saw himself as more capable than many of the men promoted around him. And as early as the summer of 75, his resentment toward Congress had already begun to fester, sowing the seeds of the betrayal that would come later on. Benedict Arnold writes in a letter of protest in 1775, "I have served my country with zeal and hazard, and yet find myself ill-treated, superseded, and traduced by men of no merit, who sit in councils far removed from danger, and know nothing of the hardship of the field. My commission, outranked by those who neither led nor bore the weight of command. If this be the reward for service, then virtue and bravery are no longer the path to honor. I seek no undue recognition, but I will not be made a cipher in my own campaign." Unbeknownst to Arnold, whispers about his ambition are already moving through political circles. His resentment, though not yet at treasonous levels, is beginning to show. John Adams, as we know, is never satisfied with the pace that Congress moves. And on July 23rd, he writes again, quote, "We seem to stagger between protest and revolution, and in hesitating, we become neither." Benjamin Franklin is quietly communicating with French contacts. He's preparing, not declaring, independence. Abigail Adams writes from Braintree. Abigail is the wife of John Adams. She writes, "I have made saltpeter from the cellar. I've made pewter plates, and I've melted them into shot, yet the children still play." A New Jersey widow, Mary Coates, shelters a wounded rebel under her barn, and I love what Mary says, and it gives you a little context into what, was going on with civilians. Quote from Mary, "He would not give me his name. I only knew he bled for something he deeply believed in." End quote. Now, what's going on with the British? What is their view from Boston? Enter General Thomas Gage once again. Quote, "These rebels dig like moles and shoot like savages, yet they deny us the countryside. British reinforcements are delayed and morale in Boston is running low. Officers are restless. The colonies teeter between protest and war. Soldiers dig trenches. Franklin awaits, and Adams fumes. The revolution is alive, but the nation is still unborn." Next time on Red, White, and Weekly, the dawn breaks upon August, and with it, a storm brews in the Atlantic. British reinforcements finally arrive in Boston, but so does word of a rebellion that is spreading north into Nova Scotia. Benedict Arnold, he's not done yet, and he's planning something bold in the wild north. His plan, in early August, will involve Canada. Franklin will send one of his most significant secret letters, and there is a massive spy scare coming to New York. In Virginia, Patrick Henry will deliver a fiery speech that sends shockwaves through the colonies. And in Philadelphia, head-to-head debate, pen versus passion. At a candlelit table, we see Franklin as he dips his quill, and he writes thoughtfully. He then speaks a single, powerful line. Revolutions do not ask permission. I'm Kelly Haven. Thank you for joining me. And until next week, God bless you and the United States of America. See you then.